that the National Park Service will remove a famous photo of an enslaved man's scars, saying it could traumatize visitors, sparking debate over how history is told.
Can you show that?
Yes, one moment.
All right. This was a very important picture back, during the controversy over slavery, because it showed, slavery was not this benign institution, but was a horrible, brutalizing, dehumanizing, destructive institution, one of the worst institutions ever devised by human beings. And I'm not saying every slave got beaten by this, like this, of course not, but every slave would be subject to this kind of beatings. But Donald Trump doesn't want us to acknowledge the horrors of slavery, doesn't want to acknowledge 100 years nearly of Jim Crow discrimination, doesn't want to acknowledge that any iota of discrimination still exists in our country. He wants to purge our history of anything that counters his political orthodoxy. You don't have to believe me. Just read his Project 1776, his officially endorsed account of the American experience issued at the very end of his first term. Virtually every scholarly organization in the country, about 50 of them, joined with the American Historical Association to denounce this report, saying it's not history, it's political orthodoxy. It takes no account of historical scholarship of the past 40 years. And, Trump talks about accuracy. It's riddled with errors.
If you believe Trump is about accuracy,
yeah, right.
Even if you're his biggest supporter,
yes,
you cannot come and tell me you actually believe Trump is about accuracy.
Final point. He doesn't want to acknowledge slavery as contrary to American democracy, but he loves to do what, Sam, with the Confederacy? Set up monuments, rename bases after Confederates. That's fine, even though they were treasons. They were traitors who shed blood of hundreds of thousands of Americans, with many, many millions projected today's population, in defense of slavery. But they were white people. So apparently they're okay, but depictions of slavery are not. Not surprising. Trump does not list slavery, racial discrimination, gender discrimination, xenophobia, anti-Semitism, or any of those things as an enemy of America, but he does list progressivism. As one of my historian friends says, and he equates progressivism with fascism and communism. One of my historian friends said, now I got to teach that meat and drug inspection and women's suffrage equals Hitlerism.
Yeah.
That's how crazy all this is. Now, there is an article just came out tonight that the National Park Service is denying that they are ordering the scrubbing of this photo.
Oh, they're denying that this... I thought they were denying that Trump ordered it. No,
yeah. It's unclear, as always, with statements coming out of the administration. Okay. But certainly their intention is to scrub all these negative images. The executive order is crystal clear. Whether this image gets scrubbed or not, maybe it won't because of the backlash, but no way to tell from the kind of, word scrambles we get from the administration.
Right. Yeah, I mean, the hypocrisy in all these issues is so rampant, but at a certain point it makes me want to kind of bang my head again. It's like, well, there's nothing I can do about it, They can just run around and be as hypocritical and talk out of both sides of their mouths and be as immoral as humanly possible and
claim it's all sanctioned by God.
Right. That's my point. It's like, what the heck? Yeah. I mean, I get frustrated by it, but the frustration just turns into sort of numbness or hopelessness or...
Well, Sam, we're doing what we can.
No, I agree. I agree that the first step is to talk about it. But at some point, you just talk about it and talk about it and talk about it. It becomes sort of like you're in Groundhog's Day or something. I know. It's like, I agree. You can't just not talk about it. But at the same time,
they'd love for you not to. They're trying to silence.
Of course.
Even the mildest critics
No, of course, but also at a certain point, it just feels like we're just kind of spinning in a hamster wheel,
I know, but
talking
Sam,
about it all the time.
Remember I talked about live time? It does seem like 10 years of live time. It's only 7 months.
I know.
Hard to believe.
Crazy.
I was on this show with this right-wing host, guy named, I forget, Leland something. And he was trying to say Obama and Biden were as bad as Trump in attacking the Constitution and democracy. And he went through 12 years, right? They served for 12 years, cherry-picked what he could, and couldn't come up with anything close to what Trump had done in just 7 months. 12 years.
Yeah, for sure.
Leland Vittert, that was his name.
All right, our next topic. 5 new members were added to the CDC's vaccine advisory panel, shaping a key meeting on COVID and flu shots amid fierce policy debates.
They don't debate policy in HHS. They don't debate science. Not even close. All of their reports have been blasted by independent scientists. They want to validate their own biases, which enormously threaten our health, the health of Americans. They already canceled research on the most promising of vaccines, the ones you can produce most quickly, kind of throwing cold water in the face of Donald Trump's, warp speed vaccine, Operation Warp Speed. They're cutting vital health information, vital health research, and perhaps severely limiting our access to life-saving vaccines. None of it backed by science. Every credentialed, independent scientist, medical researcher has blasted what's coming out of the HHS. You put a biased quack scientist in charge, and this is what you get. And, it was all predictable. Everything that's going on is predictable.
Yep.
No one should be surprised. You were warned.
Except that he was going to win. That was the only thing.
That was the only thing that surprised. At least it surprised me.
Yeah. Trump says the U.S. Navy sank another alleged Venezuelan drug boat, killing 3 crew members, part of a string of controversial maritime strikes.
This is part of Trump's claim that as president, I can do anything I want.
I'll be right back. I'm going to turn on the AC. Keep going.
And that would include extrajudicial executions. No, there was no judicial process, no proof. First to kill 11 people, now to kill 3 people. They may not be Americans, but they're human beings. And to kill them just on one person's say-so is horrific. Who's next? If Donald Trump can do whatever he wants and kill people with no proof and just in his say-so, think how chilling that is. And he claimed again, if you just look at the waters around, you can see all this, huge amounts of drugs. Well, Reuters, an independent journalistic wire service, checked the video that they provided, and they said it showed no such thing. It was so blurred, you had no idea what it showed. So, and there's been no proof either that the first attack that killed 11 people had anything to do with smuggling of drugs. But it doesn't matter. You don't deal with drug smuggling by blowing people up. We have a Navy. We have a Coast Guard. These are small boats. They're not hard to intercept. And if you intercept them, you can verify whether there are drugs. You don't have to kill people.
Our final topic before we move on to questions. An appeals court rejected Trump's bid to fire Fed Governor Lisa Cook, protecting her independence and dealing another blow to White House overreach.
No kidding. 2 issues here. One, even assuming what this Trump loyalist, and we only have his word for it, is true, that there's some issue with her claiming twice that 2 different properties were her primary residence. It is not at all clear that that would constitute cause for firing a Federal Reserve governor, since it had nothing to do with her duties on the Federal Reserve and occurred before it. But again, there's no proof here. Has she been indicted, Sam?
No.
Has she been convicted of anything?
No.
Has she pled guilty to anything?
No.
No, there's been no process whatsoever. And now there are reports, guess what?
What?
That this Trump sycophant
Yeah.
was either lying or mistaken. That it turns out there is now evidence, and because there's been no process, we can't really sift it through. But there is serious question as to whether what this Trump loyalist said is true, because some evidence surfaced that on one of those properties, she called it a vacation home, not a primary residence. Perfectly legal to have a mortgage on a primary residence and a mortgage on a vacation home. So this may be, another political hit job. Thanks for watching our video. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and become a member today.